Forecast. We're looking at that event that's coming up and we're thinking, what are our key dates? When is this event going to start? What will the deliverables be? When are those deliverables due? I think about new deliverables. Are there some things I got to do this time on? Is there anything that's going to be different about my normal deliverables in my month-end process or my quarter-end process or my budget process? I have to think about company holidays during the period, right? Second quarter, if you're on a calendar system, you got 4th of July in there. Everybody's on holiday. Maybe Labor Days in your third quarter year end. You got New Year's. What is it about? Almost every quarter is followed immediately by a company holiday, right? And then vacation days. Your team should be allowed to take vacation sometimes. If you're running a lot of these events, there's sometimes not that much time to just say, hey, don't take it during any of the recurring events, right? The time between finishing a quarter end and starting the next month end might be pretty quick. Might not be the best time to take a vacation, depending on where you're going. Do we have new team members since the last time we did this cycle? Maybe they're going to need a little bit more help, right? We're going to have to train them on some new things. They haven't done stuff before. And do we have open positions? We actually lost somebody who used to do a chunk of work. Who's going to do that? So that's what forecast is about. One more, material transactions this period. So in that forecast period, you want to go, oh, you know what? This quarter last year, we had an acquisition, or this quarter we had an acquisition, or there's something that's making this period different than last period, and that's going to require some extra stuff. And we want to actually think about are we going to plan for that extra stuff that's going to come from either something, and it's really important to think about same period last year, right? Either something unusual happened this quarter or something unusual happened in the same quarter last year. And then those ad hoc things, you know, are going to come from some of those things. The difference between forecast and plan then, right? So forecast, I'm just trying to kind of get, okay, what are all these pieces that I have to be aware of that are unique to this particular one? Oh, sorry, hot topics. The thing I added are hot topics instead of just material transactions. If you think about this, there's often things that are trending, right? Interest rates are going up. There's a looming recession. What else is going on right now? Crypto, right? Depending on who your customer is, what your industry is, there are things that everybody's talking about. You can predict right now the board is going to ask questions about the hot topics. The investors on the investor call are going to ask hot questions about the hot topics. The CEO is going to say, well, how much exposure do we have to interest rates going up? Right? So it's really helpful to kind of put those on the list and think about them. And then overlapping events basically means, you know, sometimes, particularly with your budget season's overlapping a quarter end or a month end process, right? Or it's somewhere in there. Hopefully, if your close is really slow, then you know maybe your month end is overlapping the next month end, but hopefully not. All right, so plan. What needs to be done, and how long will it take? We often think in terms of deliverables when we start thinking about what needs to get done. I prefer to think about processes. So in Lean, we define a process as anything that takes an input, and then I do a process to turn that input into a different output. And oftentimes, the output of one process is the input of the next, right? And by breaking it down that way, I can do a couple things. I can delegate differently, right? And I can break things into, to kind of Caitlin's comment, I can break things into pieces that I could do before month end and pieces that can do after, because a run a process gives me the output I need for next time. In fact, we often, the first part we do of our process, take last quarter's spreadsheet and roll it forward. We go in and we change the 6 months ended, and we change it to the 9 months ended, right? We do all this work. We want to make sure we're doing that ahead of time. So process breakdown helps. Then we want to know the time needed for each process. So we've got our list of processes. How long do we expect it to take? Then what due dates from the early process outputs do we need in order to keep us on track to hit our deadlines? We want to bake into our plan some time for the inevitable ad hoc stuff, right? And have dedicated resource on certain days maybe that can handle what is going to come up. We inevitably know it's coming there, so we plan that. Otherwise, right, the alternative is everybody's booked at 8 hours a day, and some ad hoc request comes in, and that means somebody's working 11 hours a day instead. Can any outputs be eliminated? We talked earlier about hiring a milkshake, right? Do I really need this report? Can we eliminate some of this stuff? So it's a good time to think about that plan.